It's really early on a Friday. Can we just why should we do creative morning afternoons? Okay, right. Somebody caught that. Okay, let's see. I think maybe I should hold it because I'm gonna move my head away. Okay, hi, I'm Vicki. Um, Sorry. Thank you for waking up. Maybe this isn't extremely early for you, but it is for me on a Friday. Really excited, and thank you, Rachel, for hosting and Frog. But so I'm gonna be talking about spacetime. Just really quick, how many people are designers or creatives? Oh, okay, mostly a lot of people. And how? Okay, that's good. All right, quick, like 3 seconds, 20 seconds about me. I'm a designer at Pinterest. And before that, as Rachel said, I was a designer at Spotify, Headspace, and Lyft. It sounds like, wow, that's a lot of cool places, but it just means I've quit my job a lot. um, but before that, before design, I worked at Google and I was doing like research into how we hire, what makes good teams, and what makes a good manager. So, who's doing the manager podcast? Would love to talk. um, but all of that is because I studied behavioral science. I'm really excited about what shapes our behavior, like how we make decisions. Um, so much so that I wrote this book over there. Wrote is like, I drew a book and then they asked me to write words with it. So you'll see when you get it. But the book is about making better life decisions. It's a choose your own adventure. And it's actually about cognitive bias and how you can learn about like behavioral science or learn it in a way to help you make better life decisions. You'll have to let me know if it works, if you get it. Okay, but back to design. I'm a product designer. Out of all the designers, are you all like tech? I know, cringe now, but are you tech product designers or just designer? One, I got one, two. Okay. Just so your mileage may vary here on this talk. But the way it works in tech is that these decisions, so if decision making is the theme, the way that we make decisions in tech companies, like what do we invest our time and resources in, or what do we decide to keep or get rid of, are often shaped by metrics or the metrics that are set by leadership, goals set by leadership, all of that. But the metrics are driven by the people who use the products, right? Which advance the metrics. And so I drew this one because the users are us, and we sometimes might not be that aware of how all of these, sort of inadvertent decisions are shaping our lives. They have this huge impact. This is kind of what it feels like. I had to like install a blocker and then put my phone in a box. It's a whole thing. So more and more as we feel like this person kind of glued or trapped or stuck to our devices, we have to ask ourselves, do the product decisions that are being made for us or by us align with our values? What are the ripple effects of some of these decisions? And are they serving us in the long term? I think we know the answer, but the rest of this talk, let's go. But changing how we make decisions, like if you've worked in a bigger company, it feels daunting, right? Like it feels like, this is how it works. You can be the person who speaks up, but then you're kind of like a squeaky wheel, and you know, you'll see. But I also feel like it feels overly idealistic when someone gets up here to talk about like change the world, make your bed and change the world. But the what I think is that there could be a way, right, to change how we make decisions in organizations that's also good for business. So before I get into that, I feel like it's helpful on this Friday morning to zoom a little bit out and set that context that like when we're reframing our default points of view, we kind of have to like let go of how we think about things right now. And so just stick with me. It'll feel at parts like I already know this. I don't know what you're talking about. Where is she going? But stick with me as I take you on a little nomadic journey across space and time. And I promise it'll make sense by the end. So one more quick gut check. How many of you know what space time is? Any sci-fi fans? Okay, we got a few, but you wouldn't be able to like come up and Give a lecture? Okay. But you'd be able to explain it to a 5-year-old? Maybe? Maybe. Okay, okay. It's okay, I won't quiz you. Space time, I just took this from the internet, is a concept where in physics where time and space are unified in a 4-dimensional space. Events occur at specific points in this combined space and time. If you've watched like Interstellar, when he's in the bookcase and he's kind of going in, you could think of that as space time or the block universe. And if it feels complicated, don't worry, just kind of putting that in your mind for now. But we'll start with something super easy. Let's start off in the present with today's technology. And let's do that thing where we look at it through the lens of human experience. So, the questions I want you to keep in your head are, what advantages do these tools bring us? What do they take away? And how have they changed our behavior? So, 3 examples to start from our daily lives. The camera or our smartphone. Some people carry around these cameras. But you know, if you've been to a show or a birthday party or here, like everyone has their camera out. It's kind of annoying, but also you kind of have to do it. And you know, we want to capture the moment. We want to have the ability to go back and look at our memories, and that's so helpful. I think when I look back at my camera roll, there are trips or there are moments, mundane or super exciting, that like I would have just forgotten without them. However, some of the ripple effects of photos or phones are that they can take us out of the moment. Like we're sort of at a show, like trying to capture the thing that's happening, or at a birthday party, get that exact thing. And so they kind of divide up moments as moments to be documented and then moments discarded. And the tricky part is like this habitual capturing takes us out of the present moment, so much so that even when we try to like do a nature hike and leave our phone at home and we see something super incredible, then there's FOMO of like never gonna see that thing again. So it's a little bit tricky. The next example is video conferencing. I don't know if you're anything like me, you're just all day on this. So Zoom, Google Hangouts, choose your passion. They're great because they let us connect with people around the world. We can talk to friends and family that we wouldn't otherwise be able to see, and they have allowed us to work from home, which is like a weird COVID thing that like once you go forward, you can't go back. But Zoom exhaustion is like so real. I think all of us can probably feel this in our bones. Just listening to disembodied heads, like kind of looking at ourselves, looking at them, not really looking at them. We never can make eye contact in this world. Um, but I think that there's this weird blurred boundary when you're working from home, you're Zooming. The first time you take a Zoom call, maybe you go on a walk. The second time you take a Zoom call with camera off, maybe you're in the bathroom. Like, so weird things happen the boundaries get blurred was the point there. And then the last example of our current day technology are just apps, the things I spend so much time on. I call them apps of convenience because they are super helpful. They try to solve what we call unmet needs. They are like these problems of inconvenience we might not even know we had. And we can now accomplish anything from anywhere. We can order our groceries from while sitting in traffic. True stories. We can do stuff when we're waiting in line. Everything is just, you know, a tap away, as they say. However, some of the ripple effects, you guys might be noticing the themes here. Some of the ripple effects, let's consider an app like Google Maps. Are we losing the experience of aimless wandering? When's the last time you went to like your own city or a foreign city and just got lost, or tried to wayfind or talk to a stranger, or something like that? I think there's a little thrill that's lost, or that is in getting lost, that we have lost. I said lost a lot. Similarly with food delivery apps like DoorDash, I think it's so easy on like a whatever Tuesday night to get Thai food. I think there's a question of like, are we losing our connection to the ingredients that are going into the food, the communal act of making food, like understanding like what is happening with our food. So sometimes these apps are so useful, they're so easy to use, that it makes the manual version or like the original version feel like super clunky, and a little bit less appealing. And I think this just is just like a nod to it changing our defaults and expectations, and sort of making decisions on our behalf. So back to her, who might be me. With all of this utility and convenience, I think the question is, what is the trade-off? What are the things that we're losing that we don't always talk about? Is it our capacity to wait or be patient? Or is it our capacity to engage in hands-on work, or even to be bored? And how would our past selves have designed these products differently if we could have seen our present selves in today, which would be the future for them? So now I want to go further back in time to look at what can we learn from technology of the past. So some of these analog technologies might not even think you might not even think of them as technologies, because they've been around for so long. So the first example is paper. While paper might not seem like an innovation, it's been really transformative in our history. Before paper, we couldn't like save our thoughts beyond what was available in our memory. It would like we couldn't consider complex ideas simultaneously, and we certainly couldn't pass them down um, across generations, across geographies, except for with the spoken word. And so, in some ways, paper has helped us really advance because it helps us share knowledge across generations. However, as we know today, I mean, not even talking about the digital age, but with the advent of paper, everything is recorded. It can create this feeling of information overload. Everything is endlessly recorded. And a new conundrum, which I talk about in the book, is created, which is what cognitive biases are for, which is to understand like what is the most important, what should I be giving my attention to. And I think there's an interesting sort of side thing to think about, which is the person who's writing things down, the historian or the scribe. In some ways, they become the decider of truth, or what is recorded as truth, and what becomes most salient in our memory. The next example is a table. Similarly, tables might not seem like technology at first blush, but tables play a huge role in how we come together, how we share meals, how we discuss. They give us a space for sitting, writing, creating, anything you want to do at a table. It'd be harder on the floor. And some of these ripple effects that I've been calling out, are how the physical presence of a table can really change how we move and interact in a space. So, have you ever got stuck working at your desk for 8 hours and realized you did not eat, drink, or pee? Or have you ever sat at a table where the hierarchy was clearly at the head of the table? I think some of the ripple effects of tables are in creating rigid arrangements, limiting our flexibility, and creating power dynamics. So the last example, the clocks do, we know, two important things. They keep time and they divide time by hours, minutes, and seconds. A lot of books have been written about time recently. We'll just recap super high level with this really precise measurement of time. I think like now we can have very specific routines and schedules and social patterns. Without clocks, I couldn't say, yes, meet me here at 9 o'clock, which I got wrong. Everyone apparently was here 30 minutes before I was. But the measurement of time has allowed us to really measure and quantify how productive can we be in an hour, can we be in a day, and at the same time, it's given us the ability to take time off, like we can have vacation time. Hopefully everyone has vacation time, but just the measurement allows for that. But that measurement has given rise to a type of temporal anxiety where time is something to be lost or wasted. As soon as you measure it, it can be scrutinized in that way. And just it can be harder for us to stay in the moment. It creates this tension of time as something finite or scarce, and a resource that we might be wasting. So I share these examples. Hopefully none of them were new, but like a reminder to, and hopefully I didn't sound like a Luddite. I use a phone, like I'm a tech worker, but I share them to demonstrate a pattern, which is that when we connect the dots from the past to today, we can start to see these themes of how technology has really altered our human experience, which is our emotions, our behaviors, and interactions in sometimes unintentional and significant ways. So my first example about the paper and the camera have really transformed how we document and preserve memories. So that is to say how we remember and how we share. The second example about the table and Zoom have really changed or refined how we interact and communicate or connect with each other. And they have really changed how we gather and socialize. And the last example about clock and apps of convenience, yes, thank you for chuckling at my snail, have really changed our perception of time and efficiency. They've really changed how like time feels. And so my goal for sharing all these examples, it feels a little tedious to walk through all of them, is just to set the baseline for this idea that as we charge ahead, designing whatever it is you design, whether it be technology or otherwise, let's just be mindful of those unintended effects that we've been looking at. Again, not judgments of whether these effects are good or bad, just the idea that their impact, like I've been describing as ripples, can be more prolific than we initially might have imagined. So now here is like the break. You might have been wondering what happened to spacetime. We are getting weird now because we're going to enter into a new mindset. So we have been talking about the past and the present, and we generally accept that time moves from the past to the present to the future, and we can't go back and forth. We can only go in one direction, and that's forward. But now, instead of thinking about time in this like one directional linear way, what if we were to imagine that time is just another dimension? So we have dimensions of width, length, and height, like 3D. That's what it, I know. When I was writing this, I was like, oh yeah, that's 3D. And the fourth dimension, if you add it onto that, which is hard for us to think because we're in 3D, imagine that fourth dimension is time. And if time was the fourth dimension, this is weird because I drew this in 2D, so now that's 3D. If we had a fourth dimension in our already three-dimensional world, that would create a block or a volume, which is also called space-time. So that original thing that I showed with the graph, that was sort of a different view, an isometric exploded view of space-time. And so this concept, which is also known as a block universe, it just means that time isn't ticking away, gone forever, but rather one big block, like a jello, of past, present, and future, where everything is existing and real and permanent. The past isn't gone as soon as it's gone. The future isn't yet to come. They are just simultaneously here. So for those of you, I love a metaphor. For those of you who aren't as familiar and you're still like, it's early, what are you saying? I came up with two metaphors to help describe this. I don't know if the physicists condone these metaphors, but okay, so imagine the world. And on a linear time scale, San Francisco is in the past. I gave this talk in Copenhagen at the time, but Copenhagen is near to the present, near to Greenwich Mean Time, I guess what they consider the present, and then Tokyo is plus 9 hours in the future. But all of these cities, they coexist, right? Like you can go from one city, you can talk to people in the other cities. They don't just disappear because we aren't in them. That would be weird. But that's how we think about time. And so that's just one way to think about time if you in your mind are able to like take that and apply it to time as the fourth dimension. If that also hurts your brain, understandable. Another way I like to think about this is like a book, and to think about the volume of the book as the volume of the cube of the block universe. And if the present is just one page or one like sheet in this stack of papers, the pages earlier in the book are still there and the pages later in the book are still there. We're just on one page of this book. So this isn't to say the future is predetermined, but rather that they're all created and existing simultaneously. So clearly, I didn't study metaphysics. I studied behavioral science, but the internet told me that this is supported by real physics. It's not like a sci-fi concept. But even so, I realized that like these ideas, they just feel like stuff of sci-fi movies. They feel like, Back to the Future, Interstellar, just because we can't do it. We can't travel, and they just are outside of our actual lived experience. And for the next like 10 or so minutes, I just want to ask you, even if you don't believe the theory, or even if you don't understand the theory, which is very real, I'll just ask you to suspend your disbelief just for a moment and embrace this idea that time, or that the past, present, and future can coexist permanently. And then we can ask ourselves, in this world, how might this change the way that we build technology? And in turn, how could this reshape the human experience? And so, to help you better understand what I mean, I'm going to apply this new framework into specific examples with two companies that I worked at before my current company. So, I skipped a slide. Spotify has been in the news a lot because of the algorithm, but when I worked at Spotify, I think it's still the mission now, but the mission was to unlock the potential of human creativity by giving artists the opportunity to live off their art, and then their fans to enjoy it. So if we kind of take that mission and we look at Spotify's trajectory through the past, present, and future, I think this demonstrates it pretty well. So in the past, physical records, CDs, really defined our listening experience, right? They both guided and constricted our listening. The album format created this story that you had to listen to some extent, and to get an album, you had to invest your own money into it, and there was a risk involved in that decision because you only had finite resources, and you couldn't buy all the albums. And perhaps we listened more deeply because we had this limited set of albums that we had chosen and invested in. In the present, we're here now. The streaming era gives us these unlimited songs in our pocket. The algorithm serves up a personalized mix for every mood and moment. And you can stream and listen to as many different artists as you want. Same monthly cost, or you could listen to ads, TBD. And in this way, Spotify claims to have democratized audio for smaller and niche audiences to really connect with their fans. In the linear future, Spotify has always talked about this like audio companion that can intelligently cater and predict to you. Like say you're in a movie, it creates the soundtrack to your life. Any mood that you're having throughout the day, Spotify is gonna like amplify it. You're the main character in the movie starring you. And even better, these recommendations, they're evolving over time. You're not staying stagnant. You're like getting cool new interests, growing and expanding. It's amazing, all thanks to Spotify. And you never have to like scroll through a screen to figure out what to listen to. It's so seamless, frictionless, and an always on experience. But as you can tell by my tone, what are the ripple effects? We've been talking about ripple effects this whole time. Some of the unintended side effects of this always on future are this dilution of quality. We're already starting to see it, right? Of the experience of listening to music. Having music always on turns it into background noise. We become detached from the present with our headphones always in. We stop hearing like the natural sounds around us. Even transparency mode is not the same. We just experience this loss of silence. And I think back to Spotify's mission, the industry writ large, I think the abundance of streaming options actually creates a lot of stuff has been written how there's so many challenges for artists to be discovered now. They're not getting paid well. And now they're trying to create music to game the algorithm. And it's just a lot of questions come up about the perceived value of each song because of that quality time spent listening has gone down. But enter spacetime, enter the Black universe. What might Spotify look like with the realities of past, present, and future all together, ever present? We might be able to ask ourselves, how can we go deeper when we have less? And what does quality look like on a streaming platform? And so in this universe, imagine, what if Spotify limited your new content to just suggest a few, maybe perfect, high quality recommendations like your best music friend would recommend to you? Those albums that like you find yourself connecting really deep. Okay, perfect. Maybe you would start to listen more deeply. Maybe you would start to appreciate the album in its richness, and maybe you would form new and meaningful memories tied to music like we used to when slow dancing at high school dances. Maybe you would feel that transcendent power of music again. And maybe when you got tired of those few albums, as you would begin to embrace silence or the natural noises around you. And in this universe, your subscription costs would directly sponsor those artists that you listen to, which would incentivize artists to make higher quality music that would allow for sustained listening. And that's kind of a different type of flywheel that I think is a really great option for tech companies, where it doesn't ask them to give up their values for revenue. And this isn't, a literal solution. It's just meant to show how this framework can help with some of the challenges that Spotify is facing, like artist pay, choice overwhelm, and our perpetual need for novelty. One last example to bring it home. When I worked at Headspace, same thing. Mission was to improve the health and happiness of the world. If we take a look at Headspace trajectory, in the past, meditation involved these long periods of sitting, week-long retreats into silence called Vipassana. This is super hard for new people. It's hard to sit for like an hour. It's hard to sit for 30 minutes. And it's inaccessible if you have children or you live with other people. So Headspace has done that thing, made meditation and mindfulness really accessible, just 10 minutes a day, gym for your mind. Anyone can learn to meditate. Same thing, Headspace, Vision, same thing. It was weird to go from one to the next. Continuous mindfulness support, super supportive friend and teacher in your pocket. If you're waking up, they can gently guide you awake. If you're at work and you had a difficult conversation with your boss, they're there for you. And at night, if you need a sleep story, same thing, Headspace in your pocket, put you to sleep, just like Scarlett Johansson in the movie Her. But what are some of the ripples? I think same thing. Meditation is super important. There's a lot of evidence-based protocols to show like all the amazing things that it can do. But what is happening to the meditation, the quality of the meditation practice when we reduce to the minimum viable dose of 10 minutes a day or 5 or 3? Has it become just another task we can check off of a list? And I think it's pretty counterintuitive that Headspace lacks this self-reliance model where there's no defined offboarding, where users are meant to let go of the technology and sit alone in silence, akin to that tech-free state of Vipassana. So again, enter the Black universe. What might Headspace's future look like if we were more intentional about supporting the realities of past and present? And how might we find that right balance between accessibility and quality? In this world where all states of meditation coexist, maybe graduating from Headspace could look like becoming a mentor on the platform. Maybe you could contribute to the community by supporting beginners or sharing learnings about your meditation practice. This is something that they already do in Monastery, not a new idea. But the idea is then, as you're still a part of Headspace, you're not glued to your phone all day, you're not reliant to that guidance, and you can also help other people while still being engaged with the app, which kind of allows for you to potentially maintain a maintenance subscription tier. So to all the questions of like revenue and retention, this feels a little bit more sustainable and aligned to the mission at Headspace. So these are just a few examples of how designing in space-time can help shift our perspective when making decisions. And in closing, I just want to emphasize that this isn't just about thinking longer term. I think there's a lot of places here, the long now, I think it's called the long now. There's a lot of places thinking about like getting rid of short-termism, and I think optimizing quarter by quarter and wanting quick results is something we know that doesn't work well. But this is about what can happen when we treat the realities of past, present, and future as of equal importance. And designing in space-time helps us in this way, which is reflecting on past successes while also being conscious about creating room for the future. So you go back home, let this idea marinate. It's one of those. And my hope is that this framework will just be a nudge in the right direction to help us all design better past, presents, and futures for the actual human experience that we want for all time. Thank you. Oh wait, two promotional slides. These are some of the writers that shaped my thinking. If you want to follow me online, I sometimes post. Sorry if you cannot read my handwriting, but I will type them up. And then the book that is so beautifully displayed by Cynthia of On Waverly, find her shop in Chinatown, is the Choose Your Own Adventure. If you have a decision coming up or know of a new grad who's wondering what to do, I designed the book. It started off as a paper book, then it became a Figma thing, which is weird for publishers, and now it is a book. That's my dog.